Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. Quick info before we begin. In today's first story, there is mention of racism, so if that is a topic that bothers you, you might want to skip the first story. Now, let's get started. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole and it's by user AITA Throwaway018. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to make my future brother-in-law a groomsman? My fiance, 25 female, and I, 29 male, are from the same hometown, but we never went to school together. I graduated high school the year before she started at the same high school. I did, however, go to school with her older brother, 30 male. Her brother was a bully to me during our entire school career. He made fun of me for being fat and nerdy. He would call me racist names. They're Italian and I'm Indian, so he had a lot to say about that. And he was just overall terrible to me. I figured once we graduated, I'd never see him again, and for the most part, I was right. I went off to college out of state and then ended up going to graduate school as well. During my first year in grad school, I was a teaching assistant for a class, and I noticed one of the girls who I taught was very smart and very pretty, but obviously I couldn't go out with her because of our positions. Well, right after the semester ended, I ran into her at a coffee shop off campus and we chatted for a bit. She ended up asking for my number and then she actually asked me out a few weeks later. We've been together ever since. At the start of our relationship, I had no idea who her brother was. They have a very common American last name, so it's not like that was going to do anything. Eventually, we figured out we were from the same town and we went to the same high school, at which point she asked me if I knew her brother and I said I did know of him, but not well. I probably should have told her what her brother had done to me at that point, but I was too embarrassed, so I kept it hidden. Things really came to a head when she introduced me to her family a year later. Her brother actually called me by the same nickname he liked to use to bully me and then made a few semi-insulting remarks towards me again. My fiance, girlfriend at the time, noticed and called him out on it, and he just explained that that was how we always talked before. I told her it wasn't a big deal since I didn't want to cause any drama. Now, we got engaged 3 months ago. Recently, we were talking about wedding plans and stuff with her family, and he asked me when I was going to ask him to be a groomsman and if I was doing anything special. I deflected, and after the call, I asked her about it. She explained that her brother expected to be made a groomsman since she was making my little sister and her sister-in-law bridesmaids, and he made her a bridesmaid in his wedding. I told her about why I didn't like her brother and she said that she understood, but it was still right to make him a groomsman. I said no again, and she got pretty upset about it and said her parents were going to be mad. I was also annoyed, so I texted her family group chat to say that he wasn't going to be a groomsman under any circumstance, and now they're all mad at me. Am I the a-hole? Well, OP, in my opinion, of course you're not the a-hole, but there is one thing you did wrong. You should have told your girlfriend right away. Now, having said that, it is your wedding just as much as it is hers, but it is not for her brother or her parents to have a say in anything. Of course, I'm assuming here that you guys are not being manipulated or managed because they're paying for the wedding or anything like that. Now, you say you told her why you don't like her brother, and she just said she understood, but you still needed to make him a groomsman? You see, to me that says that she didn't really understand. She heard you, but she didn't listen to you. She knows that her brother used to bully you, but she still thinks that he should be standing right next to you like one of the people that you trust most in the world while you're getting married because he made her a bridesmaid? I mean, I don't understand that. It should have been the sister-in-law, but whatever, that's their deal. OP, my question here would be, are you sure you want to entangle yourself with this family? I mean, the brother clearly sucks. Apparently the parents are now angry at you, but your fiance, your future wife, it seems like she cares more about saving face with her family or doing what's right according to them than actually standing by her future husband, which is you. Anyways, OP, in my opinion, you're not the a-hole and you really need to think about this whole thing. And what do you guys think about this situation? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Agent Alpo says, not the a-hole. You should have been upfront about how much her brother bullied and hurt you in the past and how it still hurts when he says that stuff. In your attempt to avoid drama, you've ended up with worse drama because now it's harder to justify your dislike when you've previously said it's no big deal. Your fiance is crappy for not supporting you in this. She's supporting a racist bully instead of her future husband. And Opie responds, I don't blame my fiance. Her parents are paying for a lot of the wedding, even the part of the wedding that they have no interest in. Indian weddings are pretty huge, and they've already agreed to pay their share of it, even though their guests are only going to be a quarter of the total guest list. And they don't even mind paying for the extra events that we're going to have that aren't a part of a normal American wedding. I think they just expected me to do the same as their daughter-in-law. Alien Overlord 1001 says, not the a-hole. You let him bully you again. As soon as he used that nickname, you should have stood up for yourself and told him to call you your name, or don't bother speaking to you at all. Time to fess up and tell your fiancé everything. Make it clear you are not asking her to stand up for you after he knocked you over so many times. If she can't accept that, then maybe this isn't the match you thought it was. You are supposed to be a team now. You are supposed to stand up for each other in this kind of situation. And OP responds, I have told my fiancé everything. I basically gave her a detailed account of every single thing he's ever done to me. She's well aware of it all. Squirrel and Numbers says, not the a-hole. She doesn't have to have your sister as her bridesmaid. Sounds like she made that choice. You get to make this one. Honestly, I would tell her how it would feel for you to have to hear those remarks next to you through the whole ceremony. How much that would take out of the experience. I hope she can understand that you want to be focused on your love and your love alone that day. Best of luck. And OP responds, yeah, that's how I feel, and I really don't want him to be made a groomsman because he didn't even invite me to his own wedding, despite the fact that I'd been dating his sister for over 3 years at that point. Something about how they wanted an intimate wedding, lol. Additional information from OP's comments. I know I handled it poorly. I regret not telling her from the beginning, but I also didn't want to push her away from me since I really liked her. However, he hasn't been too mean since then. Not nice either, but not nearly as bad as he was in high school. Although I have to say, I don't think it's a stupid hill to die on. They're Catholic, so we're going to have a ceremony in a Catholic church. And I feel like if I know he's standing behind me when we're at the altar, I'm going to feel absolutely terrible. Like, I don't want to be saying vows and he's right there behind me. The other thing is that I'm going to be having my groomsman wear some traditional Indian clothes for the Indian events and part of the reception. I don't feel right about having him wear stuff like that when he's made fun of my culture before. I once wore one of the things we are going to be wearing to school for picture day in middle school and he made fun of me for it relentlessly. I have no doubt he'd make fun of the clothes at the wedding too. I don't want to be ashamed of my own culture at my own wedding. I'd prefer if he wasn't there at all, honestly, but there's not really any way for me to get that. He also said he was going to do a speech as the brother of the bride. I 100% cannot allow that to happen. I already know he's just going to say something about how I was in high school or one of the backhanded comments he likes to make. Also, I don't think that her parents or the rest of her family is racist, just maybe her brother. I think I'd know since we've been dating for 7 years and the first time I met her family was 5.5 years ago. Finally, I'm not going to rethink my future with her just because of her brother. OP's edit. I texted my brother-in-law and told him that I felt like I deserved an apology from him. He said he had nothing to be sorry for. I told him that I didn't even want him at the wedding and the only reason he was going to be there was because he had to be. Everyone is even more angry with me now. I know I shouldn't have said that, but he really upset me with that. I feel like I have to fix this. OP's edit number 2. Showed my fiance this post and she had an actual panic attack reading through the comments. She kept repeatedly asking me if I was going to break up with her and then she kept saying sorry. I think the comments telling me to reconsider the relationship and consider whether or not I wanted to actually have a future with her really got to her. She's yelling at her parents on the phone right now. I have no idea whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. OP's edit number 3. So, my fiance's parents decided they wanted to talk to me after my fiance yelled at them. Her mom apologized straight away and said that she had no idea we had such a history, and although she believed his comments had always been wrong, she thought I was okay with it. Her dad also apologized, but tried to talk about how family was more important and that I should let this all be in the past. I said I couldn't, and he started getting really angry at me, and now all 3 of them are yelling at each other again. Well, mostly my fiancé and her mom versus her dad, and I'm starting to feel really guilty about this whole thing. Alright, well, the community agrees that OP is not the a-hole, and we got a lot of context. Apparently, the parents are paying for the wedding, but they're not holding it over their heads, so that's a point for them. The brother believes he has nothing to apologize for, which just sucks, of course, and the dad, well, he's got it wrong. Because if he wants OP to put this in the past, then the brother has to apologize. Anyways, it's time to move on with the update to see how this story ends, but of course before that, here's another one of my playlists for you to enjoy after this video. Now, let's move on with that update. So, I think things have been mostly resolved and I wanted to give an update on the situation. I decided to take some of the advice that I received and finally stand up for myself. This was all a bit too intense for me and her mother reached out to arrange a family meeting, which happened last Saturday. Her mom actually said she wanted to clear the air since she wanted her family to be able to spend Easter together, and that included me as well, even if I don't celebrate Easter. So on Saturday, we went over to her parents' house. It was just us since I asked to speak with them without her brother around first. Basically, we sat them down and told them that there was no way her brother was going to be a groomsman, and right now, he was pretty close to being disinvited completely. Her dad started to protest, but my fiance backed me up, and then I just went through everything he had ever said or done to me, and then straight up asked him, if our children, your grandchildren, told you someone treated them like this, how would you feel? That shut him up, and I think he realized that our kids were going to look like me and could go through a lot of the same things. It helps that her dad and I normally get along very well. Both of us are really into ancient Roman history and we talk about it all the time together, so I know he respects me a lot. Anyway, that question got him to our side. So when her brother arrived, all three of them basically expressed to him how disappointed they were in his behavior. Honestly, I was surprised by how completely her parents flipped. And even though it was disappointing how they all seemed to disregard the blatant racism he showed me for so long, it was really nice to have their support now. He got pretty mad that everyone was ganging up on him, but when my father-in-law said that if he didn't learn to treat me like family, he was going to be the one kicked out and not me, that really got him taking things seriously. My in-laws are fairly wealthy, so I think he was afraid of being disowned and disinherited. Even though I doubt that that would actually happen, he ended up apologizing. And although I don't know if it was sincere, I've talked to my fiance about it and she actually still wants to disinvite him from the wedding entirely. I think the comments on the post really got to her and now she wants to go full scorched earth on him, even though he apologized. She's even said multiple times that she doesn't know what she would do if she ever found out that he said something to our future kids, but she says it wouldn't be pretty. It's honestly kind of scary. I'm not going to trust him to be the best brother-in-law in the world, but I also think he knows he can't get away with things, so I've held her back from that. I have agreed that we should make sure to keep an eye out for how he acts around our future kids, whenever that happens. I told him that he was still invited to the wedding, and although he wasn't going to be a groomsman, I did hope that we could move past things. He seemed to agree. Easter was pretty good the day after and he didn't say anything even remotely snarky. Hopefully things stay that way. He's going to come over to my parents' place with her parents for Eid al-Fitr next weekend, so we'll see how he behaves then. Thank you to everyone who gave me such great advice. Extended from OP's comments. To those of you wondering, my fiance did apologize to me many times for different things, even things that weren't her fault, but she was taking the blame for anyway. This isn't a comprehensive list, but she apologized for asking me to make her brother a groomsman even before she knew, not respecting my refusal, not cooking dinner the night we had our big argument, this one is so weird, not noticing how poorly he treated me before, even though she did call him out on it and it was my fault that I said it was no big deal, not acknowledging how serious his mistreatment of me really was, allowing her brother to bully me in the first place, before she even knew me. As I said, not a comprehensive list, but she is definitely apologetic. She held me very tightly the night I made that post. She would not let go. My fiance actually got mad at me for not telling her the truth before. She said she was already head over heels for me at that point, so it wouldn't have even mattered. But that way, I wouldn't have had to deal with him the way I have for the last few years. I've acknowledged my fault for that, and she's made me promise not to hide anything from her again, especially about how I feel. I also don't think her parents were perfectly okay with racism under their roof. I think they just did not realize how insensitive some of the comments he was making really were. I don't really blame her for it, honestly. I think this is a pretty common issue and happens fairly frequently with people who aren't particularly used to experiencing it firsthand. That's okay though. What's important is that they were willing to listen, learn, and empathize. Finally, there was really no way I was ever going to actually break up with her, at least not after she acknowledged everything. I'm really in love with this woman and she would have had to do much worse for me to actually reconsider our relationship. But yes, she did only really take it seriously when she thought there was a chance she was going to lose me, which I don't know how to feel about. There was also no postponing the wedding. We're still in the early days of planning and we haven't set a firm date yet. We have an idea for one, but nothing solid. Well, I'm gonna definitely call this a happy update, because even though the apology was probably very insincere, he's in check and he can't do crap. So on that note, OP, here's wishing you and your future wife all the best in the future. And who knows, maybe in time your brother-in-law will have some sort of epiphany about what an a-hole he is and actually apologize to you. Maybe even become your friend at some point. It might be a stretch in wishful thinking, but if we didn't have that, then we'd be screwed. Even a cynic like me sometimes has wishful thinking. Anyways, take care OP and thank you so much for sharing. Now let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance and it's by user 321 Backup. Screw your HOA and its ridiculous rules. Back in high school, I was all about my car. Don't get me wrong, it was a rolling piece of crap, but it was my car. It had a trade-in value of maybe $5, but it was my car. I was learning how to take care of it, by which I mean I found where the dipstick was and how to pull it. I hadn't yet moved on to tire inflation, one step at a time. One day after school, I drove over to my friend's place. We jump out, pop the hood, pull the dipstick, check the oil, and it was fine, so put the hood back down. Now, I had no idea what an HOA was or what it meant. I was just a happy, ignorant teenager eager to demonstrate how responsible I was with my wheels. A few days go by and we're hanging out at my friend's place when his mom comes home. She starts giving us the business in that I'm annoyed but trying not to be voice about a warning she received from the HOA regarding repairing cars in your driveway, complete with a photo of my piece of crap with the hood up. Really, she was being pretty good, though clearly annoyed. We explained that we weren't repairing anything, but I was just checking the oil level and didn't even need any tools. Picture just had the hood up. She softened quite a bit and the focus of her annoyance shifted from us to the HOA, since it was entirely reasonable for anyone to check the level of oil in a car. She finds her copy of the HOA rules and we all read them together. Sure enough, there's a bylaw that says you can't repair a car in the driveway. I protest that I wasn't repairing a car, I was just checking the oil. Reading the exact rules on exactly what was forbidden sparked an idea. I looked at my friend, raised an eyebrow and said, "Fight the power? Fight the power!" I proposed my plan to his mom and asked for permission since she's going to have to deal with the fallout. She's on board since she thinks this is supremely stupid and we set it in motion. Cue the malicious compliance. Every day after school, my friend and I drove our pieces of crap machines to his place, parked in the driveway, raised the hoods, and just looked at the engines. No tools, we weren't even near them. We didn't check the oil, we didn't so much as touch them nor wipe them down with a rag. All we did was expose them to the birds, the sky, and got above to just let them breathe. After a while I got bored, so I started setting up an easel and drawing my engine 10 minutes at a time. My friend had to one-up me, so decided he needed some tasteful artistic photos with his engine. He judged the best photos would be him laying over the engine shirtless, stroking and fake kissing it. Just absurd, over-the-top moronic high schooler stuff. Predictably, the HOA was on us like stink on crap. The warnings quickly turned into fines, complete with pictures of both vehicles with their hoods up. Then more pictures of my car with its hood up and an easel in front. Then even more pictures of my friend's car with its hood up, him laying in the engine compartment and me taking pictures of him with a camera. Soon enough, his mom let us know it was time for the HOA monthly meeting. Of course, all three of us had to go in person to protest the fines. So the motley pair of us show up along with his mom and his mom's stack of fine notices. I bring along my engine drawing and we printed some of my friend's boudoir engine photos larger than normal. After a while, it was new business time and my friend's mom steps up. I'm pretty sure they expected her to play the "my son and his friends are morons, please make these fines go away since I didn't know what they were doing" sympathy card. Nope, not a chance. She politely but firmly attested that she was being sent fines for something that wasn't in the bylaws and asked the board to stop. One of the board members spoke up saying that working on cars was against the bylaws, and clearly that's what was going on since both hoods were up. Oh, you should have seen their faces when she corrected them that the bylaws said no repairs were allowed, that there were no repairs going on in any of the pictures since no tools were visible, and that we were just doing our projects for school. Even longer faces were seen when she showed the truthfully completely terrible drawing of my engine along with the date stamped a couple of weeks ago pictures. This was back when film cameras stamped the date directly on the picture of my friend trying to seduce his engine. The HOA president called for a 5-minute recess, during which the board huddled in a corner of the room. After the recess, the president succinctly said, "Ma'am, we are going to dismiss all your fines. Have a nice evening." We damn near danced out of that meeting. Being the obnoxious crapheads that my friend and I were, we had to do the drawing photo routine a few more times just to make sure they weren't going to start sending more fines. They wisely didn't, and being victorious, we soon found other ways to annoy them. Well, OP, you guys were by-the-book rule followers, so yeah, well done. The HOA had nothing on you. Good job, OP. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out, so here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later, and also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.